The Doug Rising Show. Well, the Doug Rising Show. Well, the Doug Rising Show. And I'm Doug Rice. You know, I forgot about the drums. There have to be drums. How you doing this morning? Good morning. How you doing at 10 o'clock in the morning? I am Doug Rice. Get used to this, folks, because it's happening. It's happening every day, except Sabbath. At 10 o'clock in the morning, my time, you may count on me to be here with my rhyme. All right, that'll be enough of that. How's everybody doing? So, it is Friday. Are you ready to go? Is it Friday or is it Thursday? I don't know what day it is. It's Friday. It is Friday. Friday, September 8th. Oh, you're so close, right? You're so close to getting indoors, getting to yourself, getting to your folks, getting to places where you can tell jokes and smile all the while and enduring your style. But when Monday rolls around, you're going back to town, and then, of course, no grin had better be found. Don't play with me. Not today. Oh, let me just say this. You know, these social media platforms that I put this show on, which include Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and Discord. These are the 5 platforms that go live anytime I go live. And let me just tell you the suppression that is put upon these efforts. It really proves to you who is in charge of the floodgates of the masses and being in front of their asses. And if they don't like what you say, if they don't agree with what comes out of your mouth every day, they will do everything they can to make you go away. But see, here's the thing they don't understand. See, I'm not doing this for numbers. I know numbers are going to be small because, well, you know, this ain't for everybody, and that's just all. But the information I'm telling you is vital. Vital. A few days ago, we went over who Edom and Esau were. I know that wasn't a popular video. I put it on twice. There are 2 videos. I put on part 1, part 2, and then I re-streamed those lives and got little to no response. That's fine. That's fine. It's not our time to be heard just yet, see? And so I'm satisfied with whatever numbers I get. I just wanted to throw that out there. Just remember, folks, they do not like this information out there. They don't. And I'm going to prove it today because today you're going to go over some information that will blow you away. Now, I don't know if you know about the Adam and Eve story. I don't know if you know about the Adam and Eve story. No, I'm not talking about the story that you read about in scriptures. I'm not talking about that very benign, very declassified story. It's never been classified. It's always been out there in the open. It's been known, but there is an Adam and Eve story that I've shown that has been classified and now is declassified. And I want to share it with you because it might be something that you knew. Let's take a look. This is the Adam and Eve story by Chan Thomas. Now, if you look closely at the bottom and the top, this entire document was at one point sanitized, or rather, it was classified. Let me get my bearings. And its classification, see, it says declassified in part, sanitized copy, approved for release back in 2013. And look who has declassified it, the CIA. Now, I need you to follow along with all that I'm going to say because this is important information. And this, in my estimation, coincides with prophecy, coincides with what the scriptures say about the future and what we're going to be soon put to. Every single living organism on this planet is subject to the sun. And if the sun does something funny, you can best believe folks are going to run. Now, Again, it plays like a book. It presents itself like a book, but let's really take a close look at what this is about. The Adam and Eve story talks about scientific assertions of a cyclical event that will certainly occur within the few years we have left on this earth. And it's an interesting look into what can be scientifically proven. Now, this is more or less an opening. All of this is just exhaustive material, exhaustive reading. And let me say again, folks, all of my PDFs are available for free, but we also give them in exchange in appreciation for any donations that you wish to make that support this effort. And there you'll find those links below. We, of course, as everyone does, prefers Cash App, but let me get back to the point. So here we have kind of a sanitized copy approved for the public, open various articles regarding, nondescript things. And for that point, it brings us to the Adam and Eve story by Chad Thomas. Now, this was printed in 1965. This is the year I was born. The opening, very interesting, to Wayo. I don't know who the hell Wayo is, but okay. Without her help. Oh, okay. Throughout the years of sleepless nights. Without her help, throughout the years of sleepless nights, so at least you know what Wayo was doing. And seemingly endless trails of study and translation. This book never would have come into being. And that book, the Adam and Eve story, was a classified venture. And there's a reason for all of this. Now let's go over the contents, which is why we're doing this, all right? The contents in this book, simple in their presentation. Look at how they're structured. The next, cataclysm. The great floods, the story, the event, Genesis, and then the conclusion. Again, very short publication. I'm not going to read all of it. Don't get crazy. But what I intend to do is go over some of the highlights of the contents through the chapter headings and read a few of the wording there. Let me say this. If you aren't aware, in the 1850s, there was something I believe they call the Carrington event. And the Carrington event involved the sun above us, that shimmering now white ball above us that has subtly turned from yellow to white over the last 50 years. And we all have seen it, and we all know it, and no few two people are talking about it. In fact, it's something that people are really ignoring, that the sun is no longer yellow. When I was a child, the sun was of yellow in color. Now the sun is a starch white, and everybody knows it. Good night. No, I'm not leaving. But that Carrington event, and again, folks, for reference, so that you know I'm not the genius I'm trying to present myself to be, you got to know the suspicious observers. I highly recommend that you look at that YouTube channel and add it and subscribe to it and watch every single video that you can regarding this event, this cataclysmic Carrington event that occurred in the 1850s. It blew and set the world afire. Fortunately, the world wasn't based on electronics and all the things we have now in our face. It was more put together simply. And so the consequences of that Carrington event were not too grave in nature. But let me just tell you, places caught fire. Telephone poles caught fire. The lines on those poles instantly caught fire because the Carrington event involved what we now know to be an EM pulse, electromagnetic pulse, that seemed to have left the sun, headed for this earth, and wreaked havoc. Now that Carrington event set off a series of scientific studies that have now culminated into what I believe is this book, quite frankly. A lot of what they have observed from that time has now been weighing on the minds of scientists and people that observe the skies. And let me tell you, folks, they're falling apart and deconstructing right before our eyes. And the causality, the only global causality that could cause something like this is that sun above us. What did we miss? Nothing. So I open with that so that you understand these folks expect the sun to do something. I'm going to say that again. These folks expect the sun to emit a micronova. And a micronova burst by the sun, not a a nova that could destroy the earth, but a micronova. Okay? Not a supernova, a micronova. To the point that all of the infrastructure on this planet would fall to the waysides almost immediately. Everything that's on would be turned off. All its circuits would be fried. All humanity would be just thrown back into the Stone Age, which to me at this point ain't a bad idea, because they got enough electronics to blow us all to kingdom come. And they're scared of the electronics that they're making, and they'll run from them if they haven't already. So what we're going to do is go over this information. And the story of Adam and Eve is, I think, one that we all need to pay strict attention to. It again, available for you. Upon request or upon donation, put me to the test. I'll give you this thing for free. All right, so the next cataclysm, like Noah's 6,500 years ago, like Adam and Eve's 11,500 years ago, this too will come to pass. All right, so with a rumble so low as to be inaudible, growing, throbbing, then fuming into a thundering roar, the earthquake starts. Only it's not like any earthquake in recorded history. In California, the mountains shake like ferns in a breeze. The mighty Pacific rears back and piles up into a mountain of water more than 2 miles high, then starts to race eastward. With the force of 1,000 armies, the wind attacks, ripping, shredding everything in its supersonic bombardment. The unbelievable mountain of Pacific sea water follows the wind eastward, burying Los Angeles and San Francisco as if they were but grains of sand. Nothing, but nothing stops the relentless, overwhelming onslaught of wind and ocean. Across the continent, the 1,000-mile-per-hour wind wreaks its unholy vengeance everywhere. Mercilessly, unceasingly. I like that. Even every living thing is ripped into shreds while being blown across the countryside, and the earthquake leaves no place untouched. In many places, the Earth's molten sublayer breaks through and spreads a sea of white, hot liquid fire to add to the Holocaust. Within 3 hours, the fantastic wall of water moves across the continent, burying the wind-ravaged land under 2 miles of seething water coast to coast. In a fraction of a day, all vestiges of civilization are gone. And the great cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, New York, are nothing but legends. Barely a stone is left where millions walked just a few hours before. A few of the lucky ones who managed to find shelter from the screaming wind on the lee side of Pikes Peak watched the sea of molten fire break through the quaking valleys below. Raging waters follow, piling higher and higher, steaming over the molten earth fire and rising. I hope that's rising, almost to their feet. Wait, did I go back there? Hold on. Just make sure. Only the great mountains such as this one can withstand the cataclysmic onslaught. I think I'm right. North America is not alone in her death throes. Central America suffers the same cannonade, wind, earth fire, and inundation. South America finds the Andes not high enough to stop the cataclysmic violence, pounded out by nature in her berserk rage. In less than a day, Ecuador, Peru, and Western Brazil are shaken madly by the devastating earthquake, burned by molten earth fire, buried under cubic miles of torrential Pacific seas, and then turned into a frozen hell. Everything freezes. Man, beast, plant, and mud are all rock hard in less than 4 hours. And we go down the list. Europe, Western Africa, Eastern Siberia, the Urals, Greenland. I mean, this goes on. A new era. Yes, the cataclysm has done its work well. The greatest population regulator of all does once more for man what he refuses to do for himself, and drives the pitiful few who survive into a new stone age. Once more, the earth has shifted its 60-mile thick shell, with the poles moving almost to the equator in a fraction of a day. Again, the atmosphere and oceans refusing to change direction with the earth's shell have wiped out almost all life. And after the tumble, we join Noah, Adam and Eve, Atlantis, Mu, Olympus, and Jesus joins Osiris, Terra, Zeus, and Vishnu. Now we're going to stop there for just a minute. We're going to get in it. So what this is proposing, that there is a cyclic event that occurs throughout time and wipes the slate clean. Now, we can look comparatively at what the Creator promises during Armageddon. We can claim or perhaps say that he uses these natural forces to bring about his will on this earth, especially in a destructive sense. And so, what are we looking forward to? What does it say will happen to those who live long enough to see what may soon occur? This description that we've just talked about involves the earth's crust moving to such a degree that all things upon its surface are brought to ruin. And that is a precursor, or rather an aftershock, of the Carrington event that was experienced some years ago. That Carrington event was, if you will, a precursor to what they expect will happen next. And this is what they expect will happen next, what we've just described. But let's connect the two. Let's connect the floods, and let's connect what they expect. And again, folks, please share, like, subscribe. Again, I appreciate you being here. Katrina and Antoine Anderson are manning the floor. And if you act up, I don't think they'll be able to ignore it. They'll escort you out. But again, we're gonna go over as much of this as we can. Let's talk about the great floods and see where we're at. And this time I will make it a little bit bigger for you. My apologies. All right. Great flood. Noah, Adam and Eve, Vishnu, Osiris, what do they have in common? They represent eras, ages apart, and yet somehow they all join hands in the next cataclysm and walk with us. There are others who walk with us too, men of science long forgotten, those who first saw that these tumbles, these cataclysmic catastrophes or revolutions of the earth's shell have happened before, countless times. DeAndre DeLuc in 1779 and George Cuvier in 1812 were the foremost. Delamieux, the famous mineralist, joined the consensus, as did Escher and Forel, the Swiss geologist, also J. Ander DeLuc Jr. and von Buch. They all agreed that the cataclysms were caused by sudden revolutions of the surface of the earth. Cuvier, in his theory of the earth, first published in 1812, based on his conclusion, on his unparalleled correlative research in stratigraphy, comparative anatomy and paleontology. At that time, he wrote every part of the earth Every hemisphere, every continent exhibits the same phenomenon. There has therefore been a succession of variations in the economy of our nature, the various catastrophes which have disturbed the strata, have given rise to numerous shiftings of this continental basin. It is of much importance to mark that these repeated eruptions and retreats of the sea have neither been slow nor gradual. On the contrary, most of the catastrophes which occasioned them have been sudden. And this is especially easily to prove with regard to the last of these catastrophes. I agree therefore with M.M. DeLuc and Dolomieu in thinking that if any in geology be established, it is that the surface of our globe has undergone a great and sudden revolution, the date of which cannot be much earlier than 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. Also, preceding revolution at least had put the continents underwater, perhaps 2 or 3 eruptions of the sea. Now that's a lot to decompress. But what he is saying in short order is that there has been a cyclic occurrence affecting the surface of the planet. And their estimation is that, I see he says 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, but they're talking about this happening every 12,000 years, just to give you focus, to give you a little bit of base. And now let me stop real quick to let you know once again, what we're reading was at one point classified, was at one point classified by this government as unseeable by the public because of its impact regarding the information it offers. It is clearly establishing first that there is a cyclic-like disaster that they expect to come, one that they have seen before. And they're detailed in all its showings. And I believe with all the writings over the years that obviously point to this as a fact, I think it substantiates the fact that this earth at some point will shift again. So let's go to a small part of the book that kind of establishes. Here we see, whoops, whoa, I just went back, did I not? That was stupid. Apologies about that. Bear with me, folks. The pursuit almost happened by accident. Years of data correlation in studying the earth tumbling concept, has shown the last tumble to have occurred about 6,500 years ago. That Noah, or his name Utnapishtim, or particular, or whatever his name was, did exist and did survive that particular cataclysm. A friend of mine suggested that Genesis 1 is almost a perfect description of conditions on our planet immediately following a tumble. And on reading it, I had to agree. Genesis 2 even mentions that a mist or flood went up from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. So how's that sound? That seems probable now. So what I'm pointing out, folks, is that it would appear that the flood coincides with a cyclical event they expect to happen shortly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through just a little bit of Genesis because it does show it in this book. Genesis kind of substantiates the scientific study done in how the earth is created. And let's read through how they've broken it down, shall we? All right, here we go. So the book of Genesis, chapter 1, in the beginning, and let's understand, folks, that I am not presenting this as canon. I am trying to dovetail where science and the dated scientific origins of certain events do in fact coincide and jibe with the scriptures. And when you find that these outside agencies align with God's word, at that point, that's all I need to hear. I mean, that's all you need to hear. Here we go. In the beginning, 4 to 5 billion years ago, they estimate the universe was created in God's great design. Included was our sun and our planet Earth. And during one of the many cataclysms that occurred during the Earth's history, this one being 11,500 years ago, the Earth's lands were all inundated with raging waters and ravaged by horrendous winds. And the oceans were all dark with muddiness. And the ill wind thundered over the troubled waters also. I think you see what they're doing here, right? As the storms abated, sunlight came back to the face of the earth as God intended. And while the Holocaust was abating, once more, darkness and sunlight were reestablished and distinguishable, and it was good. And the sunlight was once again daytime, and darkness again nighttime, and in accordance with God's design, an evening and morning made one day. Again, God's original design was that there be a sky between the clouds and the ocean. And in accordance with God's design, the heavens were reestablished in that the sky again stood between the clouds and the oceans as the onslaught of the great storms abated. And God's heavens were indeed reestablished, and that evening and morning were the beginning of the second day. Now that's an interesting interpretation or interpolation, I think that's the word, of putting the creation into a scientific timetable, which is, I think, what their point and purpose may have been. Some people are of the mind that the Adam and Eve story were not the first creation, not the first iteration of this planet's existence. And the cyclical nature of what we see in our past can, I would say, very well tell you what's going to happen in the future. Now, this book is not long at all. A lot of this involves calculation and other things that are looked upon. But I think the key to this is they made this book a classified document. They did not want it out that there could be some sort of cycle that is expected to clear the current established civilization off the face of the earth. Now, here's the reason I even point to this. The Creator says that in the twinkling of an eye, the dead will be raised and we'll be made different. We'll be made complete. We too will change. It also says in Revelation that the Creator intends to use fire in his next cleansing of this earth. But, it says specifically that the Creator will bring ruin to those ruining the earth. Now, this is what I'm pointing to. The document that we've read says specifically that the sun has an effect on the earth. The earth will then go into an upheaval and it will be, I would say, kind of rearranged on the surface. What better way to bring ruin to those bringing ruin to the earth than to disrupt all that they have established as a foundation for an offense to the Creator? And again, I'll say, the Carrington event plays very closely into this, as they now see the sun is doing something. It's vibrating, it's shimmering, it's particularly energetic in releasing electromagnetic pulses. And in a lot of instances, what could have been released in the Earth's direction is released in another direction, saving us from a complete electromagnetic pulse-caused frying of everything on the planet that is made of electricity or uses electricity to operate. So when we look at what they're looking at, when we see what they're seeing, I think it kind of explains why they're acting the way they're acting. As the sun does what it does, as the earth shifts beneath them, you know how many earthquakes and floods, all of this happening in places like Greece, places like Europe. So what we are seeing is, I think, that cycle dovetailed with prophecy that make it a foregone conclusion that what soon may occur is what occurred in the past, that none of this was built to last. All right, so listen, I know that was a short show, but none of them can be as long as you'd like. Also, I've done a lot this morning before all of this, so please don't take it too personally. This document is available. There's a lot more to it. I wish I could read it, but as you can hear, my voice is going. So I am going to end this there. If any of you are interested in these rare PDFs, please be sure to request a copy. Detrina is the contact through which you do that. And at this point, I definitely got to go. You can hear my voice is about to go. Thank you for tuning in to Doug Wright Show. Do me a favor if you're out there. I got to go. Get that goddamn grin off your face. But thanks for tuning on to the Doug Wright Show. I got to get out of this place. Whoa! We'll get better tomorrow. Or no, I'll see you Sunday, 10 o'clock.